I always just tell people you just gotta like soak it up. Welcome back to the Friday Sponge. I have the co-founder of Kove Studios here, Alex Kove. Alex Kove's story is amazing. I ran into him about a week ago, right?
Yeah.
Damien Tatua was having this great event for Founders Common. If you haven't seen Founders Common, please check it out. They are reinventing what it means to be in an entrepreneur network. Alex was a gracious host to us. His space is out of this world. They have polar plunges, they have saunas, they have a whole experience. Their program that they put in place is white glove, top service. You feel like you walk into a family-like environment, super, super comfortable, which I think for a lot of us, when you take your shirt off in front of strangers, maybe not always the case. Alex and his team did a great job. Today, we're gonna be breaking down Alex's story, which is fantastic. This is gonna be a great talk today, guys. I think you're really gonna enjoy it. So Alex, let's kick it off. Why don't you tell me a little bit about where we are today, and let's talk a little bit about where you came from before Kove.
For sure. So Kove, we're the neighborhood recovery studio. That's how we describe ourselves. We're trying to make like recovery and health more accessible to more people. We currently have 2 locations, one in Williamsburg, the second in East Village, which we are in right now. We're currently closed here.
Mary Mamdani.
Yeah, open us up. We wanna. People really want us back, man.
Yeah.
So we're working real hard to get this back open. Luckily now we can use it as a podcast studio. But yeah, currently 2 locations and looking to get this one back open and hopefully in the future do a few more, try to make recovery more accessible to more people.
Totally. Now your story started back in Australia. You grew up in Australia, right? Was wellness, was saunas, was this whole thing I'm sitting in right now, is this something that you grew up around, or kind of how did you first get exposed to this?
So the name Kove actually, it's inspired by the beach, like a beach cove. So the idea is when you walk into Kove, it should feel like walking into a little cove in the beach, right? That's the inspiration behind it. And so yeah, I grew up in Australia. I grew up going to the beach, and just the feeling that you get when you're at the beach, like you're jumping in that cold water, sitting like soaking in the sun, it's the best. And here in New York, you just don't have that.
Or you have the hot sun, but you might grow a third leg.
Yeah, exactly. You don't,
Don't do that.
Try that. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't.
Don't need to.
Yeah, I grew up with it. And then in Australia also, this industry is a bit like more developed. We have more recovery studios. It's more accessible. So the way that we do health and wellness in Australia, it's very accessible. It's not a luxury. I think in America, people are making like health into this luxury thing. And I don't think that makes sense. Like it doesn't need to be. Like, you know, health shouldn't just be for rich people, right? And so I was seeing what was going on in Australia with these spaces. I really enjoyed them. I was actually working at one. And I was seeing what was going on in America and how everything was expensive, luxury, inaccessible. And so I saw an opportunity and I came over.
That's great. And so between working at the facility, I think you shared with me when we first connected that you were also an athlete, right? So you had exposure to this pretty often, or?
Yeah, I was an athlete, I was a rower, and I struggled a lot with injury. And, you know, I was a student athlete, so I was rowing, studying, trying to socialize, and just getting burnt out. And so I was always looking for ways to feel better, so I had more energy to do things. Like, you know, energy is like so important. And I was just frustrated. I'm like, okay, where can I go to do this stuff? And then where I was from, my college town, there was literally nothing. But even when I like left, I was still like, I was in Toronto and it's like $80 to do that. I'm like, well, I can't do that. Like I just graduated college, my income's like shit. So just the lack of options for me to be able to recover from my physical like exertions, and also so I had like headspace to go do things, just didn't exist. And so yeah, I had a lot of experience. Like I knew what I wanted, but it didn't exist. I knew what I wanted from being an athlete. I knew exactly what I needed, but I just couldn't get it. And so that was a big inspiration for starting this up.
Sure. And I guess another question I had was, so when you think about your time in Toronto, Toronto is not the only place in this world where it's ridiculously expensive to get access to this level of treatment, right? How have you been able to, without necessarily economies of scale, be able to bring the price down, which we'll talk a little bit later about like your pricing and the system and everything, but how have you been able to keep the price relatively low?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, it's everything. I mean, you just got to come at it with the right mindset and look at you got to figure out what's actually important to spend money on. What can I do myself? What do I need to spend money on? And so for us, like core philosophy is what do people want? They want a hot sauna, they want a cold tub. And does that sauna need to be the fanciest? Does it need to use the cedar from, like the redwoods and like whatever? No, like it just needs to be a hot box. It needs to look nice, but like nothing crazy. Same with the cold plunges. They need to look good and be cold. And do I need to make a custom tub? No. And so that's one. And then also the rest of the build out, like how do you build the space out in a way that looks great, it's inviting, but it doesn't cost $500,000 to build. And that takes discipline because it's very easy. And the builders are like, yeah, you should put in like some really nice like tiling here. I'm like, yeah, how much is that going to cost, man?
It's always a question.
Yeah, and so being very lean and judicious about what you spend on and what matters, and then also creating systems here that allow us to run a more efficient business with like the staffing, the way that people move through the facility. Just taking a keen eye to like everything is what makes us so much more affordable than other places.
Arguably set up in one of the hottest, toughest spots to be. Some people would say New York City is like swimming with sharks in a small pool, right? So while this place may seem like a mecca, I know that people would argue that it's not a place that's easy to survive necessarily. So one of my questions would be, why did you choose New York City? And then the other one, you mentioned something earlier about your cousin, and I wanted to understand a little bit about how he kind of plays into this story as well.
Sure. Yeah, New York, choosing New York, I mean, I was nervous about it because you're right. It is a dangerous place to play. There are competitors, there's a big bad city. There's a lot of things that can get you here. But like, I'm very serious about what I want to do here. I want to build a pretty big business that has a big impact. And so I was thinking like, should I go like to New York? Should I go somewhere else a bit easier? That like also that there's not as many of my friends here who are going to be looking at me and like watching me fail if I fail.
Sure.
But then I was like, am I serious about this? If you're serious about this, you got to be able to play in the toughest market and win and do really well and hopefully win in the toughest market. And so I came to New York, and yeah, it's been really tough, but I do think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, we're very much in the thick of it right now. Literally, the space is closed right now, and because of this crazy city and the competition and things like that. But if we make it work, and I think we will make it work, it's going to pay off in a big way because we're going to be like a New York brand, and that's like a great like place to launch from, I think, versus other places, which you can also do, but I do think there's something special about the city.
Like Frank Sinatra, right? You make it here, you make it anywhere.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
As soon as if you could
and also
say
it becomes easier, right?
Right. You're like, oh yeah, I'm a big brand in New York City. It's like people are gonna be
I've gone through
open.
it all.
Right.
Like, I've gone through the city. I've gone through the competition,
the bureaucracy,
like all of the extra taxes and everything that you have to deal with here that makes it so hard to operate here that you wouldn't have to in other places. And also the fact that everyone else wants to be here as well makes it more competitive. But yeah, if you can fight and win here, then I think you can. Yeah, it becomes relatively easier in other places.
Sure. Now, being an entrepreneur, a lot of people think that is like a lone wolf sport, right? Now, I've heard from a handful of entrepreneurs, a lot of them may say when they first get into it, it's a lone wolf sport, but they find that having a good team around them is super important, whether it be co-founders, mentors. Have you built this team up, and is that something that you got from day one, or is that something that you've built over time?
Yeah, and I also want to touch on my cousin as well there, because like there's so many people who are involved that it wouldn't be possible without. And so when I moved here, I needed a place to stay, and he gave me a place to stay, and it was super supportive through that like initial phase where I was trying to find like some people to back me. And then obviously the people who backed me, they're also like indispensable. Wow, you're stupid enough to give me money, like.
Stupid enough, but maybe the biggest bet in the best way.
Yeah, it's a bet. It's definitely a bet, and they're betting on like you, but they're also betting on your ability to find other great people. And so I have my co-founder Jack. He's currently back in Australia. Great name.
Great name, strong name. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, just joking.
No, he's great, and like we complement each other. And I did before I came over here. I was looking for the right person to do this with, and we chatted about it pretty extensively before I came over here. And yeah, so I had that lined up, and definitely when you're like building a place, especially I think in a business like this where you're dealing with people and employees and construction workers and the city, there's so many moving parts. It's really hard to do it all. You should definitely try to do as much as possible, but you want to do it with like at least one other person to really share the brunt of it, because it does get overwhelming. and you also want someone who can complement like your skills that you don't have. And we've been super fortunate. Like Jack was great. His fiance's now joined the team too, Izzy. A lot of people would know Izzy. She's very popular at the front desk. And then the front desk staff, like the recovery crew we call them, are all incredible because they believe in what we're doing. And I think that's like the key thing is you got to be able to inspire belief. And so we have a mission and we're doing it. And so it's something that I think people can believe in. And I think if you have that, if you have that level of trust, and momentum helps too, but you don't always have momentum. So having like belief even without momentum, that's like key, finding those types of people. But yeah, it's definitely finding the right team is you can't do it alone.
Sure. And being an owner, from what I've heard, from what I've experienced, it comes and flows, right? Like when you first got the keys to this place and you got the funding locked down, you open up the doors, you're probably like over the moon excited about getting this going, right? But then maybe the next day you're like, holy crap, how am I going to do any of this? Does it cost what? Or like, what's the red tape here, right? How do you build, what were those early days like? And then over time, how have you built resilience? Because that's really what you need to survive in this, right?
Yeah, definitely resilience. Yeah, so I think joy does last about 24 hours. Typically. Like you get a big win, you're happy for 24 hours, and you're like, oh God, now I have to do that. Because it usually just unlocks another set of problems that you have to go figure out. So the first big step was like, how do I get money? Like, and then somehow, and actually the way I fixed that was I didn't wait to get money to get started. I just got started and was like, here's progress, like showing progress, you know, and then the money it sees like this progress. Wow, this guy's actually doing it. And so I think you can't really just wait for one thing. You have to always be moving and always be doing things to build momentum. So
when you first stepped in here,
yeah, so we're building.
What were those early days like?
Yeah, so we got the money and then we built it. And so that was a whole other thing, is building in New York City, really tough. And then once you've built it, and I was like, wow, this turned out great.
Yeah.
How do we do that? And then it's like, okay, then like telling people about it. And so like first few weeks, just like dead crickets. Because we were in Alphabet City, no one comes out here usually.
Yeah.
And so we'd go to the park. I remember taking a plunge to the park and putting it down in the middle of Tompkins Square Park. And my cousin he was walking around in like a bathrobe, just handing out like Kove cards. And then we were busy here, but then like, oh, now we're busy. Now like things are starting to break. And so you start to figure that out. And then you go, okay, we have one studio, that's awesome. But like to support yourself in New York City, we need more than that. And so, okay, how do I find 2 studios so that we can actually afford to pay ourselves like a decent wage and have money coming into the business rather than just like spending everything on overhead. And so it was just like one thing after the other. And then we get shut down. And then we have to figure that out. And then we reopen, but this one's still stuck. And so here we are today. But yeah, I think resilience comes from just continuously being beaten down, but then being like, you know what, I have no other choice but to figure it out. Because yeah, my friends put money in, like I can't give up, right? So it's almost like forced. But at this point, you could become, things happen and then you just go and deal with them.
And you just won't let yourself accept defeat.
No, yeah. I mean, there's obviously this fear of failure, for sure. And the friends being in, like it's not just my money. That I think makes it even more pressure for me personally. Because I also like, my investors are people that I know and have known for a long time. It's not like a fund.
Sure.
Spending other people's money. And so there's a lot of that. And and I think the reason why people invested in me in the first place is because they saw that I was the type of person that didn't give up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love the fact that there's a couple things here as we've talked about your story so far. It's you're always trying to help others. I mean, the mission of Kove, correct me if I'm wrong, is literally to like help others get affordable, like pretty much affordable. How would you describe it? Like,
our mission is to make like good health more accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything you do, it's like your why is not centered around like, let's just go make a crap ton of money. It's like trying to make it more accessible to the public. Like when you've taken on the burden of borrowing money from your friends, it's not just to like put them out, but it's like you want to make sure that their investment is worth it for them. And then on top of that, you are living a mission, your life's mission, to really just take everything that you learned in college as an athlete, everything you learned during your mission across seas in Asia, and really put that into a place that just continues to pay dividends in giving back to the community. And then the money will come with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a balancing act for sure, because you have a lot of stakeholders. Because I've got the mission to help people, and that's probably the most important mission in my opinion, is to make sure that like I can actually have a positive impact in the world. That's what I care about. But then you'll have the investors, and you go, okay, I have to make you some money. You didn't just give me this money to like spend. I need to figure out how to actually get you back more than you gave me. Then you have your employees, and like, okay, how do I create like a good lifestyle and support my employees, especially when you're getting started, where you don't have that many resources. And I mean, you've got your neighbors. There's just a lot of stakeholders, especially in a four-wall business where it's like a really physical space where it's a lot of relationships and a lot of balancing. And you're trying to do your best to make sure that everyone like benefits, but that can be tough, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But you have to do your best.
I mean, give it 110%, and then just keep going, right? Yeah. It's like you hit a wall, you just got to bust through it, figure out the way around it. That's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure. And things take time.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a lot of, especially in my business, obviously, the four-wall retail spot, but like I think the best, I mean, at this point, like you learn so much every few weeks. Things take time. Yeah. And over time, I think I'm doing a better and better job at hitting on all those like aspects. It's still very early, but like you learn so much.
I love the fact, I didn't know that you went into the park with one of your plunges.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to get creative out here, right? You got to stick out.
Yeah, the New York Parks showed up and they find us. But it was worth it. Yeah.
And that's what started driving business.
That was a big, and the EV Grieve, like local newspaper, posted us, people like, who are these like young idiots?
That's amazing.
And then we started getting some traction. It was really walking around handing out cards. So our business, and we're talking about like personal brand and like marketing before, but we're a little bit unique in that that's obviously important, but for us it's about we're a neighborhood studio, and so we want to engage the neighborhood. And so that was always my philosophy going into it, like how do I engage the neighborhood? And so that's where most of our early that's how we market our business, is by walking around and saying hi to people.
Sure.
And then trying to build relationships so that we don't have just one-time customers. We have people who keep coming back in the neighborhood. So
you talked about community, right? And I think a lot of there's community, there's trying to provide for your customer. And one of the big things is you were deliberately affordable. I think that's one of the things that stood out to me the most when I first came into your facility. You have the $10 plunges, but you're really, really adamant about making sure people don't just go in for a quick hit in the sauna. Right? You want this to be social. You want people to really explore the space and use the space in its entirety. And that's why you started using protocols, right? That's what it's called. It's a protocol.
Yeah, protocols. And we have fun names like the Bondi Protocol, the Noosa Protocol. There's beaches in Australia. The Espresso Protocol is a sauna and a plunge, like a bit of energy.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it makes it really easy to understand. Like the Bondi should feel like going to the beach. And so turning it from like a 20-minute sauna into like, oh, this is like an experience, I think is super useful. And then, it's a really important part of the business, to be honest. And then number two, a lot of people aren't super familiar with like sauna and plunge, how to do it properly. And so breaking it down into these protocols, which we research and make sure they like make sense and actually help for different reasons. We can then communicate that back to the customer, and they go, okay, I'm feeling like really inflamed and tired. I'm gonna do the double shot protocol and really sweat it out. Or like, I've just gone for a big run, I need to relax and like recharge, I'm going to do the Bondi protocol. And so that is really useful, I think, for the customer, but it's also really useful for us because it creates structure in the facility. Because if you don't have a structure, like a structured business model, then it becomes a free-for-all. Suddenly the saunas are too busy, or the plunges are too busy, and then people get pissed off. And so with the protocols, we can keep a handle on where people are in the space, make sure it never gets too busy, and deliver like a super consistent, reliable experience at a good price. Because with these protocols, we can book out like a whole day and have, open to close be booked, but never too busy, always like nice, and then having that flow through, we can then lower our prices because we are busy, and so we can offer an affordable price.
Now, just because this is kind of, I'm relatively new to this space, right? Would you say that protocols are pretty standard across the industry, or that's something that really you guys have double tapped on and being a true identity or a true part of Kove compared to others?
So it's very unique. I think in America, there's people who do like flows. They typically have like one circuit. So there are some circuit-based places, but I think we're the only place with like protocols in America. In Australia, actually, the place that I was at beforehand, I helped them create the system, the same protocol-based system, and I saw it working super well there. And so I came over here and did it here because I think it's obviously the best way to run this business. And so, yeah.
I mean, I loved it personally. I mean, it felt like world-class service, like white glove service for an amazing cost. And I know it sounds like I'm blowing it up, but it's true. Like, show up. Like, first off, everybody there is super friendly. Like, I think when, you know, it's the middle of winter in New York City, it's been a while since you've taken your shirt off in front of strangers. You're not used to that. So like to walk into a warm and welcoming spot, you know, have friendly faces. There's a very clear like instruction as to, hey, here's what's going to happen next. Because some people walk into these environments elsewhere and overwhelmed. It's just like going into a gym for the first time. Like I know plenty of people. Obviously, you don't want, especially the female population, to get uncomfortable. So you want to make sure they're feeling good. And on top of that, just like the experience when I say white glove, it was everyone's super friendly. You know, I go in, you guys explain to me exactly what's going to happen, what I should be doing. There was even little surprises here and there. You guys had the electrolyte slushy, which is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
like,
pretty sick.
That was a nice touch.
Man. We had to research that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some chemistry.
Yeah, well, the chemistry is great. I don't know who your scientist is, but they're a mad scientist. That's you?
No, it was Jack. Jack, my co-founder, did that.
Okay, so Jack, good job.
I came up with the key ingredient, which is allulose.
Okay.
You need allulose to lower the freezing temperature. So it's zero sugar. It's
okay.
Zero sugar electrolyte slushy. And with allulose, it will actually slush. If you don't have
Kove, patent pending.
Yeah.
By the way, pending. Don't write this down. This is
actually cut that out. Yeah. No, so yeah, little fun things like that are sweet as well.
No, and I think that's really what enhances the experience, makes me want to come back. Like I told you, I live in Hoboken. Like I'm going to bring friends. I promise you, my fiance. Like I've been raving about this for a week. So like creating that experience, making it affordable in times like this, and really just kind of making it a separate outlet. Like what I love, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's an alternative way to get friends together or to meet new people in a spot different from the typical social scene, which is a bar.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know for myself, I complain about it all the time. I love the casual drink. I like going out for a night on the town, but it's so frustrating where your only outlet is drinking.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not playing sports anymore, you're an athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good thing about it is you sort of get high as well.
Yeah. No, you get that shot of adrenaline and the ice plunge. Like really, woo!
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
it's like
and then suddenly you're like talking, you're chatting. No, it's like you get that same sort of feeling.
Yeah.
But you don't feel shit the next day.
Which is huge.
Yeah, massive.
Which is huge.
Yeah, no, I think that's a super key thing that a lot of people in our generation are realizing is that I mean, we got to work hard these days, man.
Totally.
Pay rent, so you don't have time, I think, to be knocked out for 2 days on the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I got things to do, and so yeah, being able to catch up with my friends at Kove or in like another recovery studio, bathhouse, it's a nice way to do it for sure.
Yeah. So the model seems strong. Obviously, the social media is something that we've talked about here. Do you find that to be like a requirement for any brand starting out, whether it be a sauna like yours or a wellness studio?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to touch on a few things here because I'm not going to say we're professionals at this yet. I think we're getting better. But I think the most important thing is that your service has value. Like we really focus on delivering value, which I think you like understand. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting all this for this price. Like that's a really great place to start from. Because we're not trying to sell something we're trying to sell, like the product is easy to sell, you know? And I think that's really important versus taking like, if it's a luxury product, you got to create all this hype and whatever. Whereas I think we can just communicate that we have a good product at a good price and we're good people. And so that's like the message we try to put out there. But I think it is super important, especially, I mean, for us, do we need like a global brand? No, we're not a D2C like e-com thing. But do we need our locals to know who we are, to trust us? Yes. And like how do you build that? These days a lot of it is through social media, not all of it. Like I think we're lucky in that we don't have to go like sell purely via the internet, so we can sell a lot just of being like good people. But I think to really supercharge the business and like create new opportunities, we have like landlords reaching out to you and saying like, please come to my building. Like that is when I think the growth, like having a strong social media presence, like really will supercharge our growth when we nail it.
Yeah, and you mentioned something earlier, like you know, we're not professionals. Maybe we don't have this like fancy crew, but I find for a lot of people, like you guys didn't let that hold you back, right? I think a ton of people when they think about building their brand, building their company, doing something, putting themselves out on the internet is scary to begin with. But you didn't use that as a crutch, right? Like you just kind of went head first in, started doing it, did the goofy thing in the park, which was amazing. I think like that's the best thing you do because it's all about differentiating yourself and letting your authenticity, your authenticity to show through. And I feel like people just are held back from it. Were you always someone who was comfortable behind a camera? Were you always someone who liked editing and doing things like that? Because I know you mentioned you had a finance background, you were in comp sci.
Yeah.
Doesn't really seem like maybe someone who was dabbling in it, but maybe you were.
I think I've always been creative. Like I don't think I enjoy coming up with ideas, right? Obviously, like I'm an entrepreneur, but yeah, I think being in front of a camera is something I'm getting used to and getting better at.
Yeah.
And I do think though, like I said, being able to just be authentic and have like an authentic story to tell. Like if you're looking to start a business, I think it's best that I don't have to fake anything. I'm not putting on like an act, which makes it easier. I still have to learn how to like communicate my ideas with like more energy and like with the, I don't know, on social media, like just figuring out how to communicate in that style, that soundbite style, where people are swiping a lot. That's new, but at least I'm not like, it's like amplifying myself rather than trying to be like sell something that I don't believe in. Which I think is easier than like trying to become someone completely different.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, we just dove into it and we're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
And I think these days, like, I don't think you need a big team. I think you just got to figure out what your message is. I mean, we're still figuring it out, but I don't plan to spend like a lot of money on a marketing agency. I plan to spend time figuring it out, like internally, how to express ourselves.
Sure. So in 2026, we've chatted about a bunch here, but in 2026, what's the biggest problem that you're looking to solve for the company?
It's really, I think everything has gone to plan except for the city. The city is the tough thing in New York. Being able to navigate the rules. So there's some context on our specific industry. It's pretty new. Like a cold plunge is like a new concept. And the problem with, it happens to startups all over like, America all the time, is that new products come out, consumers want them, rules don't exist to like define how they should be delivered to customers. And so typically what regulators do is they'll take the old rules, and in this case it's like public pool rule, and they'll apply that to a new class of equipment. And so typically like a sauna, you have to build out, like you build in a big sauna, like it's all physical. Ours are just plug in, right? Same with the cold plunge, it's plug in stuff. And so they're new concepts, but the city hasn't really caught up with it. And so for us right now, it's working with the city to figure out the best way, to operate our business in a legal way is like the highest priority thing. And we're pretty much 95% of the way there. We're just currently dealing with some stuff with East Village, but we'll figure it out. And so, I would say getting that fully nailed down, like an operational model, is the number one priority for me. I think everything else I actually feel pretty good about. Like people like our stuff, people are coming, and so now it's just like, okay, how do we like get ourselves into a position to grow? Sure.
And I'm so curious too, because like when I think about New York City, I just think of New York City, right? But you're functioning in Brooklyn, but you're not functioning in the Lower East Side. Like, what's the bureaucracy? Like, what's the difference there? Like, why is it that you guys can open up shop and be completely fine over there and not here? Like, what am I missing?
There's just a lot of, again, like it's kind of arcane. Like there's rules just get made every year, and they all pile up on top of each other. And like sometimes they take some away, sometimes they make new ones. Usually they just make new ones. But what's allowed to be built in a certain space is like it's defined on the system, and then you have to go look at like the space, how it's defined, your use case, if you could work there. And then because our use case is relatively new, it's like, okay, how do we actually define our use case? Can we operate here? And then within that building, like for this particular building, when we're going through that process and talking to the city about our use and what we're doing here, we found like a mistake that has to be like amended in the system from like a few years ago. And so now here, before we can move forward with our business, we have to amend this mistake because like it's a messy big system. And so, yeah, it's like just very case by case, site by site. And it's a really a magic art that you figure out. And you can spend so much money on expediters and lawyers to do the stuff for you. But like us, we didn't have that option. And so I've had to just go in and like learn about building codes and things like that. So, and try to figure out like who I could talk to, you know, maybe to like help speed things up because we don't want to be waiting for a year to open a space. And yeah, so it's very much case by case and like something you pick up over time.
And legal's not cheap in NYC. I mean, I think I heard the other day it was like you get if you get charged like $3,000 to $5,000 an hour for legal advice. Are you tapping on lawyers a lot, or are you just doing a lot with ChatGPT and you're reading building codes?
Yeah, ChatGPT and building codes, bro.
That's your late night.
Yeah, dude. Like I think literally in my ChatGPT wrapped it was like regulatory investigator.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, because it's just learning about what we can do, how to make our business fit into the city system, and then also at the same time, like the reason I'm also trying to publicize what's going on here is I want to talk to people who make rules and try to help create a better system, because people want this stuff, and right now the way that things are set up in New York, it's really hard for small businesses to deliver it. Yeah, there's big companies who can deal with all of the bureaucracy, and they don't really want things to change, in my opinion. Yeah, some of the bigger players, but right now it's really hard for little guys like us, and unless you're somewhat insane like maybe I am and want to go out and like investigate all of the rules and go knock on the DOB's door or the DOH's door and like figure out a way, like most people aren't down to do that. But if you're not down to do that, you just can't make it as a small business right now, you know? Sure. And
so this year the goal is obviously let's get this up and running, right? Social media platform steady, clientele steady. Where do you see this company in 5 years? Like, do you want to be not just the NYC franchise, but a national franchise? Like, do you want to have like a certain amount of studios, maybe in one part of the city? Like, what's the vision?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a vision. You have to sell a big vision, especially if you want to get investment, because people are more likely to invest in a big vision than a small vision. I do have a genuinely big vision. I think that everyone should have access to this stuff. That's my belief. And so as much as we can help deliver that to people and be the best at it, like we'll see how far we can go. And it'll the sky's the limit. I think it's a new industry of so much potential in this industry, and like not only sauna plunge compression, but like looking forward to biometrics, like things like, like you see companies like Functional Health Superpower doing super cool stuff in biometrics and just making it easier and more accessible for people to be healthy. That's like how I think. And so we're just going to take it, month by month. But, if I have opportunities to grow, I'm going to take them. And as long as I'm delivering a really great service at a great price that I think is differentially better for customers than other people, I'm just going to keep on going. So I don't know. We'll see. 5 years, check back in. But, I think it's just, I think you just got to take it month by month and have a vision, but then lock in and just do it month by month.
Totally. Do you see, if you were to talk to Alex from the beginning, right, what word of advice or what piece of advice would you give yourself right before it started?
I think, again, like it's going to get tough, and just keep on marching forward. Things will go wrong.
Yeah.
And I guess try to prepare as much as possible for all of the things that could go wrong. You're still not going to catch them all, but just being prepared for things to go wrong and building that tough skin, and knowing that, like, I think what I would tell them is that people really do appreciate what you're building, and it's worth it as well.
If you were to give some advice to the next generation, because that's really what all this is about, I kind of shared it with you, right? My belief is that the world is going to open up to solopreneurs. I mean, you're a prime example of it, right? Someone who had this amazing degree, had this tremendous background, easily could have found yourself in the the NYC finance hub of the world, or you were an athlete, maybe you could have just picked up something in the athletic world, but you decided, no, I'm going to do something myself. And there's been plenty of things that you didn't know, but you've now leveraged your connections, your technology, the technology that everyone has access to. This isn't some like crazy random thing. Like anyone can get a $20 ChatGPT subscription and ask the question. So I guess for those who want to build and maybe are scared about the job market and where it's going to go, how can people start to think about building that idea if they don't have that inspiration just yet?
Yeah, I think the first step is, I guess there's two levels. I think the first step is trying to find out what you actually care about, because it is really hard. And if you don't care about it, I think it's tough. I mean, I do see some people who can just somehow just lock in and focus on the money. I personally can't do that. I need to have something that I care about, and that's what gives me motivation. So whatever it is, like whether it's, some artistic thing or education or like whatever it is that you care about, figuring that out and then going in on that. Because I do think it's like the world is changing massively. And I feel very good about my business because like how's AI going to disrupt like my recovery studio, right?
Yeah.
And as I honestly part of getting into this, I'm like, what's a business that I can do that's going to be around for a long time? And I think those personable businesses are going to be around for a long time. There's like things that people get passionate about. But yeah, find your passion, just hone the craft and just don't give up. And yeah, I think the world is changing, and I think if you can do that, do it. And if you can't, maybe team up with someone who has that vision, because I do think these like small, tight groups of people doing cool things, that is like, I feel like where the world is going.
Totally. Do you feel like, and maybe this is something I should have asked a little bit earlier, but I feel like a good question would be, was there ever a point where you felt like the wheels were coming off?
Oh yeah.
And how have you managed that? Like, how did you figure out how to, get everything back together or kind of save it from sinking too fast?
Yeah, so the biggest thing was when the city showed up and shut down both studios. Like someone put a report in and the city shows up, and they shut us down for they wanted us to essentially reclassify our cold plunges. That was the main issue. And so yeah, suddenly you go from having, like $100,000 in monthly revenue to zero, right? In like a day. And so then you got
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And then you go, okay, that's how it is. What next? How do I fix this as quickly as possible? And what do I do about the people who I'm paying? And like, how do I make it as easy as possible for them? Because maybe I can't pay them for a while. And you just have to have a lot of hard conversations and figure out a plan and then just go execute it.
Yeah.
Because, giving up is not the option. I think, you feel sick. I felt sick for a while, really sick, but then, like, what choice do you have? Like I said, my friend's money, like Jack moved over the world to like do this with me. So like I got to figure it out.
Yeah. How long did it take to get things turned around?
Well, it's been 4 months, yeah.
For here, yeah.
I mean, Williamsburg, we somehow, like, I have no idea how I did it. I think it was somewhat luck, but we were just so persistent to get that one open. And eventually I think the city was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
I love this saying, I've heard this time and time again, so what, now what? Right, and I think it was actually from, there was one college team, I can't remember who it was, but they have it like up in their locker room or something, so what, now what? And it was really just the idea of like, look, you're gonna hit a wall, everyone is, so what?
Yeah.
Right, it's all about what you do next. And I think a lot of people look at failure as defining them. And I've always liked to say that really failure only defines you if you let it define you, right? Like your actions are gonna define if it's a true failure or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting because you go from highs and lows and like public perception also changes. They're like, oh, Kove's on top of the world, or Kove's in the gutter. Oh, Kove's like sort of coming back now. And at the end of the day, it's like day to day, it's the same stuff. I don't know, like whatever people think. And I personally I do take it kind of personally, they think I'm going to fail. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it matters to me. But yeah, when something happens, it's happened. And so If I don't want to fail, then it's just, it's now what? It's just sick saying, so what now what? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what now what? So what now what? So now what?
Now it's get this fucking thing back open.
Get this place open.
As quickly as
Meram
possible.
Dani,
Yeah, anyone.
listen up. Listen up. You never know, man. You never know.
Dude, no, it's just, again, take it day by day and try to make health more accessible to more people. Like, that's all we can do.
I love it.
So.
Well, I love your story. I love the mission. I love the grind. I guess the last thing I just wanted to ask you really was just centered around if one person were to ask you your elevator pitch for Kove, can you give that to me? We're in the elevator. I'm some high exec. I have all the money in the world. What's Kove? Go.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I think right now wellness is a luxury and Kove's changing that. Health should be for everyone, and that's what we're trying to deliver. And we're doing that with affordable access to sauna cold plunge and hopefully in the future more and more things.
I love it. Well, Alex Kove, co-founder of Kove Studios. Dude, this has been awesome.
Yeah, dude, pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. And if people want to look you up, if they can't find you in the park with your polar plunges, how can they find you? How can they get to Kove? Yeah,
follow me, Alex.Jeremijinko. I'm launching a personal brand now, so you can follow along that way. I'm trying to share more about the BTS stuff I'm going through. Otherwise, Instagram, Kove_Studio, or you can come say hi. I'm literally always at Kove Studio in Williamsburg right now. Yeah, come hang out, guys. It's a great time. And those electrolytes, you're missing it. You're missing out if you don't get those electrolytes. Slushy, yeah. That's slushy, patent pending. Yeah, the Bondi Boost, maybe. Are we going Boost next? Is that what we're throwing in there? Boost? I don't know, that was just a name. Oh. I thought we were getting a little electrolyte mixed with some vodka or something. Maybe some creatine, chuck it in there. Creatine? Yeah, I dig that. Yeah. I dig that. All right, cool, man. Well, you're the best. Yeah, dude. Appreciate you. Of course.